Hi everybody, Natsumar is back, and in this video, I'm going to clarify something that a lot of people have questions about when they're looking to raise capital for their deals. And the sun's just in my eye as I'm driving, but really it comes down to two main things when it comes to raising money for their deal that a lot of people get confused. And this has to do with the money that comes out of the deals that are raising money. I guess the structure of how the capital is when they're raising money for their deal. And so the main thing that people have to look at is number one, there is debt, and number two, there is equity. So people just have to understand the nature of these two parts of the capital. So when it comes to debt typically is very fast and it's the majority of the deal. So if somebody's raising money to acquire a piece of real estate or to buy acquire a business, it's usually quicker to find debt than it is to find equity. And what is debt and what is equity? Debt is really somebody loaning you money. Equity is the money that is part of the actual assets. So let me try to explain it in a practical way. So let's say that you want to buy a $10 million business. To buy a $10 million business, you have to raise money. So you have to raise money to acquire the $10 million business. So it's really easy to find somebody that will lend you money if the company is attached to real estate or if the company produces a lot of cash. In other words, when I say produce a lot of cash flow or cash, I'm talking about EBITDA. So earnings before taxes, amortization, depreciation. So basically earnings, what the thing makes before all those things come into place. So when you look at the money that a deal makes and when you look at the earnings, EBITDA, you have to remember this. Remember very carefully that it's really easy to find a lender if the business is attached to real estate or if the business is making a lot of cash flow. You can almost guarantee a lender. That's why at our company we actually started to guarantee a portion of the debt part of a raise. So let's say you have a $10 million business. It's really straightforward to find somebody that will lend you money for that business, especially if it's attached to real estate and it's cash flowing. So then let's say you see 50%, you see a lender that say, hey, I'll lend you 50% of the value of the business. That's easy. The hard part is finding the other 50% that is usually what a lender needs to complete the deal, or usually what is needed to complete the deal. So to actually complete a capital raise, you have to also find that other 50%, and that's what people call quote unquote equity. All right. So equity is really tricky because equity is really the part of the deal that has to come from it's like a down payment and it's higher risk. Because the thing is that if somebody lends money, and the biggest lender is usually what they call somebody in the first position. So that just means that if there's a default, if the business stops producing cash stops producing enough money for the lender to get their interest payments back, then it can go and say, hey, I'll collect the entire either property, real estate, or business. I'll collect the entire thing. All right. So that's why people that raise money and collect debt, lend out for somebody to acquire a piece of property or a business, make a lot of. They're very secure. And then the other money is what you call on the second position. Because it's possible to have two lenders in the same deal. So you can have a lender on the second position, but what's more common is just to have one lender and then to raise money via down payment. For the other part. And so this is more high risk money. It's higher risk because there is no first lien on that other money that is being raised. And that's why it's really dangerous compared to debts. So the way that we structure our company, for context, is we actually have a registered commercial mortgage brokerage. And the reason why we started one is because we realize that equity is high risk money that investors have to pay for, because investors are subject to the risks of they don't have first lien. If the business falls apart, they collect what they get after after the first lender. So that's why there's so many regulations that protect investors against unfair practices. So pretty much, you have to make sure that people are really protected in the equity markets, right? And the way that people are protected are usually through all these regulations, making sure that they're accredited investors, making sure that they read a lot of disclaimers. So that's just it. I mean, there's nothing much to this video. It's just to tell you that be careful when you're structuring the deals, because you have to make sure that you understand the difference and the risks between the lending portion and the equity portion. Because I just had a call of a client, or I guess a potential client, and then he had a fund where he was working on lending out money to potential investors. Uh, and then he said, "Oh, let me just raise money so I can lend out money to people to develop real estate and to fix and flip real estate." And he wanted to do it in such a way so that the investors that invest with him are in first position. So people give him money and he lends that money out so that he and the investors are on first position. And so he's structuring a deal that way, and very few people do. But it's pretty important and pretty key in the sense of usually what people would do, they would raise money for the down payments of a deal, and then the investors would be in the second position. But if you get investors on the first position, you provide them a special benefit of being more secure in the investment, and not many people do that or think about that. So I guess that's pretty much the takeaway, or the little nugget. If it's a little nugget, that's it for this video. Is really that understand the difference between first position and second position, and if you can get investors the benefits of being in the first position, then investors that invest with you have a better chance at being protected when it comes to keeping their investment safe. So that's it for this quick video. I'm just on a way to see a client right now, but we'll see you in the next video.